So here's the 2019 U.S. Gold Cup roster. I have a lot to say about it, so let's just get some of the good things out of the way. Number one, Tyler Boyd is on this roster, the dual national from New Zealand. He's played really well in Turkey this year, out on the wing. We need more wing presence in terms of, our attacking play. Glad that he's on this roster. Glad that Dwayne Holmes makes this roster, played really well for Derby County. Played really well in the terrible 1-0 Jamaica loss last night. Happy that Walker Zimmerman is on this roster. I thought he was a guy that I was worried was going to get overlooked by Berhalter. He did not. And even in terms of the goalkeepers, I think the goalkeepers position group is the one that is actually the correct choices from Berhalter. If he thinks that Stefan is the one, Berhalter likes Sean Johnson as the two. And again, that third goalkeeper, it's not always, he's not really going to see the field. I think Tyler Miller fits that profile a little better than Horvath, and Horvath can work on staying over in Europe. He actually might be on the move this summer. There's some links with him. I'm not all too displeased that Horvath didn't make this roster. As for the rest of the team, it's very adherent to the March friendlies against Ecuador and Chile, which I think a lot of people were not hoping for. I, for one, was kind of hoping that we'd take a look in some different directions, namely, at least for me, at the striker position, the winger position, and then back at the center back position. Let's just go position group by position group. Goalkeeper, I think we're fine with. I talked about what I think about the goalkeeping group. Left back, it is Ream and it is Lavitz. Anthony Robinson played what was essentially a left wing back last night against Jamaica. He was not very good. Neither was Paul Arriola, who actually makes this roster as just a right winger. Lavitz is solid. Tim Ream is, he is what he is. I thought he actually played pretty well against Jamaica, all things considered. I don't have too much of a problem with left back. Right back, I have a bit of a problem just because Adams, here's the thing, is when is this going to happen? This switch to Tyler Adams just effectively playing the six. Is it going to take Will Trapp and Michael Bradley falling off the face of the earth? Because Trapp has been essentially just an average six in the MLS this year. And Bradley hasn't been all too much better, although he has been better. Whereas Tyler Adams is playing holding midfield for a German club that just got promoted to the Champions League. They finished third in the Bundesliga. I understand that DeAndre Yedlin is injured, and I understand that Adams is going to fold into the midfield, more and play effectively as a holding midfielder. But that just bugs me. Nick Lima, he's on the roster. I think a lot of people would prefer Reggie Cannon. If Cannon doesn't do the things that Berhalter wants in his system, then I'm fine with it. Center back is a big issue. These are some big holes. Miazga's been okay in terms of the national team level. He's been really good for Reading to finish the season. Aaron Lawn, I think a lot of people are putting a little too much stock in Aaron Lawn. He's an effective player. He hasn't been all too phenomenal for Red Bulls this season. I think even his teammate Tim Parker has outplayed him in a lot of ways. But he should be on this roster. A guy that shouldn't be on this roster is Omar Gonzalez. He's making the move over to Toronto FC here in the summer from, Atlas in Liga MX. Did not look great against Jamaica. I don't know why he's on this roster over Cameron Carter-Vickers. Cameron Carter-Vickers had a much better season, really, than all four of these guys over the last 3 months of playing. Better passer, better in terms of movement, better in terms of strength, better in terms of being able to move up the pitch as, so the U.S. can press better with their forwards. He's a baffling decision. Bradley and Trapp are on this roster. I didn't think they weren't not going to be on this roster, but it's just sad that, now we have two buffer players away from putting Tyler Adams at that sixth position. The entire roster, I think, is going to be on a knife's edge of what happens with Christian Pulisic. I think if Berhalter comes to the realization that, hey, I can play Holmes and McKennie as this kind of titanic pressing midfield duo that can get up and can first force turnovers, because I think both of them should be starting. They have the ability to start. And that moves Pulisic onto the opposite wing of whatever wing Boyd's playing on. I think Boyd actually is a little more natural right wing, and Pulisic has been playing left wing for Dortmund to finish off the season. That would be what I would want to see, but I don't know. The wing depth the amount of winners that were brought seems to me that it's going to be Pulisic at the 10, which we've seen him have difficulties at, and he hasn't been playing that position at Dortmund to finish the season, where he's been really good. Roldan is also brought. I don't have all too much. I don't have too much problem with Roldan being brought. It isn't like there's any other attacking midfielder that isn't in the U20 World Cup right now. I think I would love to see Paxton Pomykal in this situation. He's over in Poland. Roldan is fine. Jonathan Lewis is on this roster. Again, that's quite baffling. His battle was between him, Jonathan Amon, Joe Claude Gaillou. He didn't play against Jamaica last night. He is effectively going to be what he is. He's going to be a super sub for this roster. He's looked okay. Frankly, he scored a really nice goal for Colorado after being transferred over there from NYCFC. Hopefully he can kickstart kind of his season with this tournament. Morris is the most baffling bring on the entire roster. I don't know why he's here. I really don't. He's been injured the last 4 games. Jonathan Amon has, he hasn't been insane at the club level, but he's looked more than competent. I mean, even in terms of MLS eligible winners, we have a guy like Mimo Rodriguez who wasn't even brought on the preliminary 40-man roster that I think would have outplayed Morris for this spot. And again, even with the inclusion of Jazzy up at striker, it just feels so very clinging to the rosters of beforehand that against Ecuador, it was a 1-0 win, a scrapping kind of ugly goal scored by Jazzy Zardes that got it done. We couldn't beat the low block. Then a 1-1 draw against Chile in which Pulisic had a moment of brilliance. And then we kind of had to hold back, and Bradley had a bad game, and Roldan didn't have too much of a great game, and the back line, we couldn't pass out of the back. So to think that our system is going to miraculously kind of fix itself and really sharpen up during this Gold Cup, I don't really see it, especially with this roster. I just don't think the athleticism, I don't think the talent is here. And does that mean that there is, immediately a plethora of talent left off this roster that could have helped with this, like an abundant amount of it? No. But there's guys, the guys that I mentioned, no Josh Sargent. Our press is not going to be as good without him. No Jonathan Amon. The opposite winner of Tyler Boyd, if it's not Pulisic, which I don't think it's going to be, is not going to have that same kind of attacking energy, that attacking flair. CCV, again, I already talked about that. He would have been a much better option, I think, than all 3 of these guys, not including Miazga. I think CCV is the second best center back that we could have brought, because again, John Brooks is injured. DeAndre Yedlin's also injured. That's why I think Adams is going to be pinned at that right back position the entire tournament. I think a lot of people are cynical because of how bad we were against Jamaica last night, and we were pretty awful against Jamaica. This isn't an end of the world kind of roster. Like I said, if the roster kind of formulates itself into being Josie up top, Boyd out on the wing, I'll go with what I want to see. I'll say Pulisic on the other wing, McKennie, Holmes at the attacking midfield. There's still a chance that Hedams can play that 6 role. He can work himself into it. Miazga, I would like to see Zimmerman, Ream, and then I guess Lima at that right back position. Defense is going to be rough. But again, it's a team that's part of a larger process. The guys that weren't brought onto this roster, namely Sargent and Amon, they're going to be brought into that U23 camp. The U23s are the guys that are going to be, competing to get to that Olympic tournament in 2020 in, Japan? Yeah, I think it's Tokyo. That's going to be very important for the development of this young core. This is, I guess it's another, peg in the ladder of building a team that can really compete in 2022. But as far as this team's competitiveness in Gold Cup, I think it's shaky at best. That Jamaica team was not the best Jamaica side. They didn't play Leon Bailey, and Leon Bailey's a difference maker for that team. If we've always known that Costa Rica and Mexico are very, very difficult opponents within our qualifying league, or CONCACAF is what I meant to say. And then Canada's roster is absolutely for real this year. So you could make the case that the U.S., even with this roster, which not too many people are pleased about, they have, the second best roster coming to World Cup. With the maybe, if you really push it, Mexico could be second and the U.S. could be first. But the group behind us, that Costa Rica, Jamaica, Canada group, that group is closing in faster than we think. And it's not that we also have to deal with the likes of Trinidad and Panama, who we play in the group stage, Honduras, these teams that are scrappy, know how to get results against us. I think Berhalter is going to be tested a lot more than people want to let on here. And I think if during this tournament, if Josie goes down and we have to go back to Jazzy and we don't have a guy like Sargent, if Boyd isn't as effective as we thought we were, and we're starting a guy like Jordan Morris as opposed to Jonathan Amon, a variety of things could lead to the depth of this roster being absolutely exposed, which I think is the problem. This top layer of talent with Pulisic and Adams and McKennie, it's very enticing, it's very promising. It's just the guys that are being picked behind them. I think in a tournament setting, when accumulation of yellow cards gets you out of the next game, a red card gets you out of the next game, and you're going to be forced to play a guy like Omar Gonzalez or Will Trapp or Christian Roldan or Jordan Morris at a level against a team like Costa Rica or Canada that could really exploit you. I guess it's a wait and see kind of thing. I think this U23 side, that this side that's going to meet up, again in anticipation of the Olympics, it's going to be very good. You're going to have Sargent, Amon, Mihailovic, and then even in terms of qualifying in the future, the U20s who put on a fantastic display against France in Poland. They play Ecuador on Saturday. That group is going to be accumulated into that Olympic group. The future of the U.S. is looking quite bright. It's just that this men's national team level, the level that matters the most, the senior team, it needs to sort itself out in terms of tactics and in terms of the depth of this team, so that when Chris Richards or Alex Mendez or Paxton Pomykal are finally reaching that level of talent and club performance where they can come up to the senior team, that the structures are put in place, that they can come in seamlessly and make our team better. This roster doesn't indicate that kind of structure, and that is what's worrying me more than anything. Again, I want to see Pulisic out on the wing. I want to see Adams at the 6. I wanted to see Sargent. I wanted to see Amon. They're not here. It's not the end of the world. I still think this team has more than enough firepower to go and win Gold Cup. But I think the U.S., especially because of that 1-0 drubbing that Jamaica gave to us last night, the men's national team fans have the right to be skeptical and the right to be a little fretful of Greg Berhalter's roster decision, his tactics, and his overall tenure as the United States men's national team head coach. Thanks for watching.